Stay with us now. The government might introduce fiscal changes in the form of a tax increase. There has been speculations of a VAT rate increase and whether that is the best route as opposed to direct taxation. Now, on the other hand, South Africa has one of the most efficient systems of value-added tax, that's VAT, in the world. This is according to the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, which undertook research on the tax on behalf of the Treasury. Advocate Lavan Gopaul joins us now from our Durban Studios. He's from Merchant Africa. Advocate, thank you very much for joining us. Let's start this conversation and just ask a very basic question. What brought this discussion about a possible tax increase and what brought it to the table?
So some of the problems that we're faced as a nation is something of a budget deficit. That means that the amount of money that government wishes to spend outreaches the amount of money that we've managed to collect to the tune of something like 3.4% of the gross domestic product. So we're talking about a budget deficit in the order of 40 or 50 billion rands. You would have noticed recently that government is looking at sharpening some of the revenue that it can get from state assets. It's even looking at selling stakes in some of the state assets, including Vodacom, as well as looking at solutions for Eskom. So in total, we have a shortfall, and government has to find ways to alleviate that miss. One of the solutions that they've contemplated is changing the amount that VAT is levied at. Whilst a number of solutions were brought forward in terms of how we can speed up the fiscal income, it would seem that VAT has got probably the best ability to reach out to most South Africans, to tax those that are spending. At the same time, we're able to collect VAT quite efficiently in South Africa. The belief is that if we were to adjust VAT by about 3%, we may be able to collect in the order of 45 billion rand. And that seems to fill the void in terms of the deficit.
But Advocate, there are differing views on how to do that. I'm gathering from your conversation that the increase on VAT is not a bad idea, but people are also talking about direct taxation.
Yep. So what we've noticed is to manage to collect the same amount of revenue, the authorities may have to adjust personal income tax by 6%. That may be a far too punitive measure if all of us were to pay. On the upper end, it would equal to something like a maximum of 47%. At this stage, corporates are paying a fairly hefty rate by world standards, and it would mean an increase by 5% for corporates. Whilst we're in a mode of trying to attract international investment and speed up domestic activity in the corporate front, it's unlikely that the authorities may adjust the corporate rate. And as I've mentioned, personal income tax is at quite a high level. Some of the other thoughts were that certain goods were zero rated, but these are not necessarily coming to the rescue of the very poor. A number of these zero rated goods are actually enjoyed by the wealthy. And so one of the lines of thinking was to add VAT to these zero-rated goods, or at least some of them. And over different periods of years, we've seen that if we increase VAT on zero-rated goods, the government may be able to collect anywhere from 20 to 35 billion extra in terms of revenue.
Advocate, let me get in very quickly because we are running out of time, and I just want to I want you to answer this very quickly for me. Tax, either way, is going to hurt someone's pocket.
Yeah, so if we were to increase any one of these changing tax policies, it may seem that VAT is probably the one to change. We've enjoyed this level of VAT for almost 20 odd years. It's likely that a sharp change of 3% may have inflationary impact as the level of funds spent on goods and services increases by the average man. Some of the other types of revenue have been contemplated, but in all likelihood, for us to fill the immediate gap of more than 45 billion, it's likely that a 3% VAT increase can be on the cards in the next few months.
Advocate, thank you very much for joining us from our Durban Studios. Advocate Lavan Gopaul from Merchant Africa talking to us about possible tax increases.